You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
All right, Mike, the Celtics hang on yesterday to beat the Timberwolves 107-105 in what I thought was a really good basketball game for the most part. I know they had a lead of 19 that dwindled down, but I thought that had a lot to do with the impact Rudy Gobert made on the Celtics and, some pretty good play by the Timberwolves, physical play that got them back into the game. Interesting ending. I want to talk about that last sequence, that last defensive possession, which was really, really impressive on how the Celtics handled it and forced the Timberwolves into a position where they didn't really even get off a shot
They didn't.
to close the game. Yeah, but maybe, I think our intention was to talk about the Timberwolves game and to preview tonight's game against the Clippers. But we got breaking news, Mike. Breaking news. Shams Charania, now of ESPN, formerly of The Athletic, tweeted out a couple hours ago that Kristaps Porzingis is back and will make his NBA debut tonight against the Los Angeles Clippers. Mike, your initial thoughts? Let's just start right there. Return of Kristaps Porzingis.
I feel like that came out of nowhere, right? Like,
yeah.
The Celtics
there's been hints that he was close. That he was training with the main Celtics. He was doing full court activity. You had the sense he was really close, but I did not see tonight. No, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's that's great news. I'm glad. I mean, we forget sometimes that he's part of this operation and how good they were with him last year. So he certainly makes the paint defense a lot better. He fits the style of play, at least when he was healthy, of trying to take away the three-point shot and kind of putting big guys on an island, where you see Cater and Cornette really struggle with that, with people getting to the paint and these bigs not being able to recover the block shots. So certainly going to have a huge impact on both ends of the floor. This is great news. He's got a tough test in his first game back. Zubac is one of the better centers in the NBA. He's playing, if you're paying any attention to the Clippers, he's playing tremendous basketball once again this season. So good for Porzingis. Sounds like he really worked hard to come back. Because I didn't expect to see him until the new year.
No, I was thinking sometime in December, but I didn't see tonight as a possibility, and we're not in December, so obviously didn't see tonight. He helps. Obviously, like I think we tend to forget just how dominant they were with him last regular season, on both ends of the floor. There's been a big point of emphasis, I think, when we talk about this Celtics team about points in the paint, both what they're giving up and what they're not getting. He impacts that in a really unique way. His ability to post up smaller guys and, not necessarily small men. We're talking 6'6" to 6'10", and just be able to shoot over the top of them without any real resistance is a real problem for the Celtics opponents. Not only that, his ability to just stretch the floor even, more impactfully, even if he's not shooting as well as Horford, because his release is so quick and he sets up about 2 to 3 feet behind the 3-point line. So if you're dragging a big out on him, you're dragging him way out, and that opens up just driving lanes for everybody else that you're not getting now. So offensively, the impact is huge. It's just huge. And you saw that immediately last year with Game 1 against Dallas, what they were able to do and how they were able to set him up. And just even screening rolls and his ability to finish and the catches, his catch radius on alley-oops is just kind of nuts. And you touched on, of course, what he's able to do defensively, which is pretty goddamn good too, inside. So he protects the rim. He's a finisher on the other end. He's a unique talent.
I think if he was healthy last season, and played more games, I don't know how you would have kept him out of the conversation of one of the all-team defensive players with the impact he had on the defensive end. He was, You saw it in Dallas in Game 1 too. So this is huge news. I think coming at a good time with a tough stretch of basketball coming up for the Celtics, especially next week. Playing a lot of teams next week, and several teams that are playing really, really well and present a lot of size that has given the Celtics a lot of problems this year. So um, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Celtics, and I'm excited to watch him play. This is a surprise. Before me and Timmy got on the call, uh, he told me this was happening. I didn't even know. I've been working all day. I wasn't paying attention. This took me off. This took me off. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable news. Okay.
Yeah,
Get
no,
the
it's really it's a nice surprise, and especially tonight. You know, they were limited depth-wise going in tonight. There was going to be no Cornette. There's obviously no not Hal, coming off of back-to-back. So you were looking at a Kata Tillman game, and now you're looking at a Porzingis Kata Tillman game, and you know what his minutes of availability or restrictions are. I don't know. I don't know like how close to a full go. That really hasn't been reported yet. I got to imagine he's going to miss some games, but even looking at the stretch in the schedule, it's good timing. They play 5 and 7 next week. Um, Maybe he plays 2, 3 games. Maybe Al plays 2, 3 games, and you balance this off a little bit. Of course, you'd love to see them in action together because that was always effective as well. I just think this really it opens it up just even for like your playmakers, Brown, Tatum, White, Holiday, what they've been able to do with Porzingis. I mean, you had moments last year at the end of game where you went to a 2-man game between Holiday and Porzingis and got switches that were just deadly. Um, it it just and like I think you hit on it. You almost forgot he was here because they've been without him, you know, that entire playoff run. And now, of course, the entire beginning of the season, they continue to win. Um, but even at 12 and 3, what are they, 14 and 3 now? There's room for improvement, and he kind of gets that done if he's right. So exciting. Obviously, the key with him is health and keeping him healthy the rest of the way. And you hit on it too, and it's important time, and especially with the Clippers, who we're going to get to in a minute, because they're a really good basketball team, really good defensive basketball team. And I thought last night the game against the Timberwolves was pretty good. Warm up. I don't know if you want to call it a warm up or whatever for tonight's action against the Clippers. They played a really good physical defensive basketball team yesterday. I think the Timberwolves played better than they have for most of the season against the Celtics last night. Rudy Gobert was hugely impactful on what they wanted to do on the defensive end, and really limited the Celtics to some tough shots. But the Celtics found a way to get it done. And a lot of that was done when Rudy Gobert went to the bench, and they went on huge runs and were able to build up the lead. But they still found a way to find a win. And here we are again. Unlike last season, as you pointed out in your text, not a blowout, another, kind of close, got a edge of your seat type of win, and then winning the majority of these so far this year.
Yeah, they definitely are. Which that's good that they are. I thought Minnesota's offensive execution, once they cut it to 2, was a little baffling last night, where they weren't really. I thought they took a good amount of contested threes that they didn't have to take, that helped the Celtics. And I would have liked to see the Celtics execute a little bit better with those 2 possessions at the end of the game on offense. But
I thought one was executed well, and I thought the other wasn't.
Yeah, it was the last one that I wasn't a big fan of. And I
Al
thought
just didn't shoot it in the possession before. For what Tatum got on the ball and he hesitated and didn't shoot. I still didn't understand that.
I didn't understand that either. Yeah. And I thought Joe had some time to call timeout there on that last one and didn't.
Oh, definitely.
And so I was frustrated, but they pulled it out. You're right. I'll let you break down that defensive possession in the game because it was really good. I'd be a little disappointed if I was the coach in Minnesota. I don't know why Anthony Edwards passed that. I would have gone up strong at the paint there. I didn't really see other options for him. Try to draw the foul. The Celtics were in the bonus, and when you're a superstar, you might get superstar treatment. But yeah, it was a nice job by Boston. And I didn't think Anthony Edwards was great down the stretch last night. I will say that. I didn't think he had his best game down the stretch with his shooting, and he hit some big shots, but he also, I thought, had chances to go to the hoop, and he didn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, his 3-point shooting was pretty good. You know, before we get to the Celtics, I mean, what Rudy Gobert was able to do, he took on the 2 possessions you're talking about, he got on-ball responsibility on Tatum. And, you know, Tatum took him to the basket. Rudy Gobert did a great job of not fouling and taking away the hoop completely. Tatum was able to find Al because help had come. You know, when you watch it again, I don't think help really needed to come. I think Gobert had him. And then Al should have shot it, and he hesitated for whatever reason, and you know, he ended up getting a miss on the last possession of the game. It was clear that things were broken down pretty early in that, and I thought Joe should have called a timeout and drawn something up to try to get them an easier look. But again, who was out on Jaylen Brown on that last shot? It was Rudy Gobert away from the basket. You know, really forcing Brown to a tough shot, a long 3. So both times he impacted what the Celtics wanted to do big time. That last defensive possession for the Celtics. So what was interesting, and I'm going to play this on the YouTube clip over when we're talking right now so people can see this, but Anthony Edwards drove down the left side of the key with Brown in pretty good defensive position. Now, Mike's right. Maybe he could have leaned into this, try to get a call. It would have been a difficult shot. But what he saw was a wide open McDaniels in the right corner 3. And because Holiday, who had McDaniels, is way off him now, is in the paint. I think by design, too. Tatum has Naz Reid. So McDaniels sees a wide open, Anthony Edwards sees a wide open McDaniels in the corner. Makes a great pass. Tatum, from Naz Reid, does a great close on the ball. An absolute great close on the ball that he gets there while McDaniels is making the catch and forces him to pass to Naz Reid, who he thinks is open, and Holiday then closes on Naz Reid right when the ball is getting there on him. Now, of course, Naz Reid is taller than Holiday, can get that shot off anyways, but by that point, because it took so long, each step, the shot clock had already gone off, even if that Naz Reid basket had gone in. The Celtics disguised it to make it look like McDaniels had an open 3. With the idea knowing, so that if you look, Holiday is just creeping in that paint in Anthony Edwards' drive. He looks nowhere close, no ability to close out. And you see Tatum kind of leaning towards McDaniels. And as soon as that pass is made, full-fledged sprint on the closeout, forces the pass to Naz Reid from McDaniels, and just a brilliant defensive design and great execution on the Celtics. And it starts with Jaylen Brown on the ball, defending Anthony Edwards at a high level, which he did, with plenty of help, ready to meet Edwards in the paint. But the help wasn't just watching Edwards. It knew where the outlet pass was. It knew where the next pass would go from Edwards, and they knew how to get there. Just a really good job all the way around. You know, they kind of baited them. They baited Edwards into that, and Edwards took the bait, and the Celtics were able to get the win.
Yeah. Huge defensive possession. Happy they were able to do it. Would like to see them not blow, an 18-point lead in the second half and have the offense kind of go kaput. I know that Rudy Gobert had a big impact on the game, which, has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of the MO this year, is that the Celtics haven't really been able to close teams out. And so I think that's the next step for them is, keeping that distance and not keeping it close in the fourth quarter, or, separating themselves at the end of games with making makeable shots. One of the benefits from last night, too, is nice to see Jaylen Brown hit some threes. As going into last night, he was shooting 28% from 3. So it was worth 3-point shooting of his career, actually. And so be nice to see him get going from out there and be a little bit more consistent. And obviously going 7 for 11 last night, and the way he came out shooting in the first quarter, kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the season. I don't know if it makes more sense for him to be the guy in the first quarter, because I do feel like it impacts his game a little bit better when you allow him to settle in early. And I don't know if that's impacted his overall 3-point shooting this season or if it's the injury. But it was nice to see him get going.
I will say I feel like they have tried to do that more, and they've gotten off to much slower starts, which has
I'll
been
try to get him going.
interesting. Yeah, try to get Brown going more and having him finish quarters and having him be the guy and kind of less of Tatum than we saw at the beginning of the season. And their starts have been a lot slower than what we saw at the beginning of the season. So it's kind of an interesting balance. As far as being able to hold on to the leads, one significant difference between last regular season and this one is coming back tonight.
Yeah,
So that might help quite a bit.
I
No,
think the other thing I've noticed over the last week, Jim, is you can even touch on the Washington game, which the Celtics didn't show up to play, but one guy who showed up to play was Xavier Tillman. And
Yeah.
the way the way they're scheming up their defense this year, is they're even more focused on taking away the 3-point shot, and they're extending their guys out quite a bit, especially their bigs. And you're seeing Kata not be able to do that. At times, Cornette can, and at times Cornette can't. In my estimation, if that's the way they're going to defend, Tillman has to play every game, because he can do it. And we saw it against Washington when he came in, the impact he had on the defensive end. Really, it changed the game right away with his ability to get out there and stop guys from getting into the paint, where Washington, once again, a team playing Boston, had 50 or more points in the paint. And so for me, I think what I noticed from those minutes from Tillman is that he's one of the only guys other than Al that can get out there and do that. Obviously, now that KP's back, I know we've had our discussions about how we really want to see Kata out there because they're trying to develop him. If Tillman's able to defend at that high level, I don't know how you play Kata over him anymore. I just don't see it. Tillman will get into an offensive rhythm eventually, but this is too good of a weapon defensively to have sit on the bench anymore, I think. I saw a lot in those minutes against Washington. Maybe I read into it too much, but his ability to get out there and defend people is a big deal with the way the Celtics have struggled, letting guys get to the bucket this season.
Yeah, no, I think Tillman, he showed out pretty well. Offensively, he's still not helpful at all, which is, the place you wanted to see him improve. I do think you got to keep running Kata out there. I think his upside and potential to be a defensive deterrent is higher than Tillman's, and it's a matter of playing time, and the Celtics can afford to give it to him, and can afford to take some lumps with him out there. I don't think it's a failed experiment yet with Kata. I think it would be a failed experiment if you stop running him out there, because that's the only way he's going to improve. The Celtics, the point in the paint thing is interesting to me. So on one hand, the defense has been nowhere near as good as last season. I don't think anyone can say that. But
well, yeah, I mean, over the last 4 weeks, they're 25th in the NBA defensively.
But
that's what Sean Grandy had shared the other night. So they were third in the NBA, and then over the last 3 or 4 weeks, they're like 13th now, but they dropped so significantly because they were 25th in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think some of that has been, trying to ramp up Kata and this whole issue with the centers and getting beat with points in the paint, and defensive rebounding hasn't been great. I do think, and you saw it last night, and Minnesota's also excellent at it, their ability to take away the 3-point shot is a really effective weapon defensively. And they're doing it, I think they're number 2 in the league in limited 3-point makes to 11, a little over 11 a game. And in today's NBA, with the way teams want to play,
I agree.
I think there's a math element to this too, where is okay, you're going to hit a lot of twos, but we have so many our diversity on offense and our ability to shoot threes. It doesn't really matter if you outscore us by double, 2-1 from inside the paint. You're probably still not going to beat us if we're defending the three well and we're making a much higher rate. So
Yeah, I think
it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think that it's all true, and I think it definitely works for the regular season. But when you hit the postseason, teams struggle from three in the postseason. Anyways, I mean, 3-point shooting numbers go down. Even on the Celtics, they do.
Yeah.
The attempts taken, the amounts made, and their ability to stop Dallas from getting paint points last year, as well as taking away the 3-point line, was a big part.
I agree with that, but I think we've also seen the only way to really beat the Celtics in the playoffs is to outshoot them by a ton from three.
Mm-hmm.
The teams that have had success doing that have be the ones that have knocked them out or beat them in games. I can't think of an instance within the last few seasons in the playoffs where I said, "Oh, this game was lost or this series was lost because they could have matched the points in the paint."
Yeah, but I don't think the Celtics ever gave up points in the paint like this.
Had a clip like this. No, you're probably right.
Yeah, and like the other thing that was alarming to me was the percentage that they were giving up. So we were seeing night after night of teams shooting over 50% from the field. And so I do think there has to be a balance to this. I agree with the way that they're playing. Obviously, KP can change that. Maybe Kata can develop. But I think with the way that they're playing, Tillman certainly helps. I think he helps a lot where he can negate some of this stuff.
Well, I think with Tillman, you always know that you have that, though. Like, you know what he is. So, like, if you don't play him and then you figure, the Kata thing isn't going to work in game 70, I don't think it hurts you that you haven't played him.
Yeah, I guess.
He's in your back pocket, I guess, is the way I look at it.
And that's true. I guess my only response to that would be, like, if he's playing, though, I don't think his offense continues to be this bad.
How much better, though? I like to.
Well, I mean, it's got to be a lot better because it's real bad.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, he was playing consistent minutes early in the year, and he looked bad offensively, like really bad. So I don't know. Like, are those him getting more time? Would we see a better offensive player? Maybe. Does that matter for what the Celtics would need him for in the playoffs? Probably not.
Probably not, because they only need him in the playoffs for a little bit here and there. Yeah. Unless, of course, guys are getting hurt. I mean, if KP's not available in the playoffs, that's a different conversation.
Well, then you plug him in like you did last year. I think it's kind of similar. You ride Al because you get more days off, and you do the best you can. So looking forward, Mike, we're talking about defense. Is this the best defensive team in the league that they're playing tonight? It feels like it, at least over the last week.
No, it's Orlando. Orlando's definitely the best defensive team in the NBA. But the Clippers are there. The Clippers are there.
The last 5 opponents down to 100 points. They got a defensive-minded lineup with Chris Dunn and Norman Powell and Derek Jones Jr. and Zubac. And then some pretty good players coming off the bench. They do have that scumbag Kevin Porter Jr. on the team. So I
saw him playing last night. I was like, he's in the NBA?
Yeah, I hope things kind of fall apart for them because if they got this guy on the team. Just wanted to throw that out there that he's a complete scumbag.
I love Norm Powell. Norm Powell puts up like 26, 1-1.
What's his he is scoring at a rate he's never scored at before. Yeah.
Don't pass, don't rebound, don't steal the ball. He's like, he gets a lot of shots up. They present some matchup challenges. I would hope that we put Jaylen Brown on James Harden because I feel like he's the one Celtic who has had a lot of success post Marcus Smart against Harden. I don't think Holiday and White have had a ton of success against him. Obviously, Derek Jones Jr. never scares me offensively, but this is a hard playing team. Terrence Mann plays hard. I think he might be hurt though.
And Jones Jr. really struggled against Tatum and Brown last year in the finals defensively too.
He did, yeah. He definitely did. But I think Zubac's a better paint defender than whatever Dallas had to offer.
Well, this is where like the Porzingis thing gets fun, right? Because now you have Zubac coming to set a screen out on Krista. I mean, you got Porzingis coming to set a screen out on Holiday, who's being covered by Chris Dunn, and the next thing you know, we got a post up at the foul line that Porzingis just turns around and shoots over Chris Dunn. The things they can do is it's a lot of it's better. Just everything's better with him in the lineup compared to you're thinking about what they would look like with Tillman Akeda starting tonight against this crew, and things get a little bit, congested, and it doesn't look as good at all.
And I think the other thing too is anybody sitting on the Clippers tonight. I know they blew out Philly last night, but is anybody on a back-to-back plan? Like, does Harden play back-to-backs? I don't know.
I think Norman Powell might be out tonight.
That's a huge loss. The guy averages over 20 points a game. So
yeah, he's out. He's not playing tonight. So Powell's out.
That's that the advantage Celtics there. I mean, that guy's a bucket.
Yeah, he's shooting almost 50% from three, which is insane.
And he also, going back to his Toronto days, he kind of lights it up against Boston. Also, it's kind of payback. Last year, the Clippers came into Boston and wiped the floor. They were up by 30 at one point in Boston.
I'm glad you brought this. This has been a team that the Celtics have struggled against.
Yeah,
over the last few seasons.
We blew them out in LA, but it was they were on their fifth game in 7 days. Yeah, so.
Yeah, no, this is I guess payback. I think this is a good test. You talk about you played a solid team last night. I think a team that's much better than their record shows in Minnesota, and then you play a team that's probably playing better than their record and is completely bought into the defensive philosophy of the coach Tyronn Lue, and I think this will be a pretty good test. And of course, it's always interesting. How does a guy look coming back for the first time? How do they get him back into it? Sometimes you see superstars, those all-star players come back, and after their first time out, it doesn't look so good. So you could have some of that with Porzingis tonight too, where it just doesn't look so good. But a nice test, a game they should win. If you look at, especially with now Powell being out, I guess Kevin Porter Jr. maybe steps in and starts there. But I think another good early season test for this team, and in an early season that has had a lot of them. They beat some teams that are either supposed to be contenders or quality contenders, and they've also lost to a couple early on in this year. The schedule has not been a cakewalk, but I think that's good for them.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight's game. See how they bounce back on a second game of back-to-back.
11-point line. It's an 11-point line. It's huge.
Yeah. It's like that every night almost with Boston.
Yeah.
They haven't been a good bet recently, but there was something I had on the tip of my tongue isn't Paul George leaves, Kawhi Leonard's hurt. Isn't this the most James Harden thing ever, that he doesn't have superstars that are better than him and his attitude is good and he's playing well? Where if I feel like if Kawhi Leonard came back, we'd have the same old James Harden. Where now he can be the man. So I feel like that's all that matters to him. I don't know if he's the guy who actually wants winning a championship is at the top of his priority list.
Yeah, so right now I'm looking up his contract because that might be the better. Yeah, so he's on a $33 million deal with a player option for next year. So there is incentive for him to play really, really, really well and give his best effort. So that's the most James Harden thing ever.
He's trying to get extended.
Yeah. So this is his player option is $36 million for next year. If I was a GM, I'd be very beware of giving him anything. He's going to be 36 years old, but I think this is. So all that, what you just said, sure. But I think the money has probably got a lot more to do with how well he's playing right now.
Yeah, and a real quick around the league, Jim, Celtics related. My first point is I think this playoffs, we're going to see some old faces on new teams, and the Celtics may be playing some of them, whether it's Rob Williams getting moved or Marcus Smart. And my other point is just around the league, it's pretty terrible what happened to Grant Williams. I hope he has a speedy recovery, but he's definitely, I think, out for the rest of the season. So,
Yeah, maybe it's karma biting that bitch in the ass. He shouldn't try to tackle Tatum at midcourt and hurt him, and now he's got a torn ACL. You mess with karma messes with you, Grant. Now your knee is ruined.
Well, that's a big loss for Charlotte. They're already down 2 centers, and now they lost him. So I think their playoff hopes are being dwindled by the day by injuries. That seems to happen to that team every year.
Yeah, Memphis is 10-7. So unless they just see Marcus as someone not part of their plan, and I don't think he's played that well this year. If I'm,
I would think that they'd be ready to move on from him.
Yeah, they could be. I don't think he. Yeah, he's shooting 30%, 21% for three. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Only played in 7 games, so you wonder how much is left in that to be an effective player. He might be at the end here.
Rob's looked good in the minutes he's played. Have you see that Embiid didn't play again yesterday? Knee?
Yeah, well, it's a knee thing, so it sounds like he'll be reevaluated in a few days, and I mean the season's getting away from them. Season's getting away from them.
However, it's not getting away from Milwaukee, who's really taking advantage of this easier schedule. Something to look forward to next week. I have a feeling Milwaukee's going to be coming in with a really long winning streak where they could be 12-9 when they meet the Celtics. So just a game to look forward to. Maybe it's you
got a bunch of games on the horizon. You have that one. You have Cleveland again next week. You got the Chicago game on Friday. Huh?
So they can go all in against Cleveland because it's to start the week, which is nice, right? It's the first game they play.
But I also think they're going to be a balance on how the Celtics manage that entire week and who plays and how they play and going from there.
Well, I would think you will go all in against Cleveland and all in against Milwaukee, and you try to manage the other games is how I would handle it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what if there's a back-to-back ball in Cleveland.
There is.
I don't know what
So it's back-to-back game Wednesday, back-to-back to end the week. 5 games in 7 days. So that 5th game, scheduled loss, Celtics lose by like 30. I don't care who they're playing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and that Bulls game is coming up. So as we think about the Vegas tournament, I'm pretty sure whoever wins that game, Chicago or Boston, is the team that would get in. With the way things are looking with the points differential and everything.
Yeah, as long as unless Cleveland loses to Atlanta. And then
I guess it's possible.
Yeah, so then you would have a 2-way tie between the Celtics and Atlanta. Atlanta has the tiebreaker because they beat the Celtics.
Orlando had the tiebreaker last year, but we won them in the point differential, and we made it over Orlando.
So there wouldn't be a point differential because they beat you head-to-head, and it would just be a 2-way tie.
But last year, Orlando beat us in the head-to-head, and we were both 3-1, and we got in because we had the point differential, and they didn't get in. Orlando was 3-1. They didn't get to go to Vegas last year, and they beat us in Orlando. That's why we were running up that score against Chicago.
Was that for second place or for first place in the division? I don't remember.
Oh, I would assume it was. You know what? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't remember last year really.
I really don't know the rules.
Yeah, they're stupid, anyways. All right, everyone.
All right.
Fun week ahead. Kristaps Porzingis. We'll see you.
Fun night tonight. All right, Tim.